All right. Well, good morning, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. There are a few more people, it looks like, trickling in. Great attendance again. Thanks for joining, and Happy New Year to everyone. I think everyone is very tired of saying good riddance to 2020, and we're excited about 2021. Although it's been an interesting week of things, but we're super excited to get started talking this month, really focused on the cloud, whatever that is. Means something different to different people, but really starting to take a look at more of the current and future technologies that are available to organizations as they look to the future and start to build out their technology roadmap that we've been talking about, and really the important things to consider. We hear from customers oftentimes that they want to get rid of their server room, they want to get rid of infrastructure, and they just want to put everything in the cloud. Well, what does that mean? What are the considerations? What are the cost impacts? So I'm happy to have Paul Hager join me today. Paul, good morning.
Good. I can't do that.
Paul's the Director of Solutions. Have him give a little bit of his intro, although many of you have heard him before. But we're excited to have a good conversation about this topic. As always, we'd love to hear your questions, so please use the question and answer section of Zoom. We'll be monitoring that and try to get those answered as real time or before the session is over. Paul, do you want to do a quick little intro?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Good morning. I thought I had a mute issue there, but it looks like I'm working just fine.
Can hear you just fine.
Good. Thanks. So, Director of Solutions here at Alevity. The service delivery team and our solution architects and VCIOs I oversee and have the opportunity to work with all of our a good chunk of our really talented team here at Alevity. Former owner of ITP, and as well as a number of other businesses over the years. I've developed software technology, patented it and sold it, as well as developed service providers like ourselves. And really excited to be a part of the Alevity group and a part of our mission as we help go into 2021, where we're trying to help businesses, achieve more in their communities through technology by, helping their businesses achieve and find that success. So one of my most exciting responsibilities is helping set our technical direction. And as we go into our own internal kickoff for the year next week, and just really excited about where we're going in 2021, and also excited about where the technology world is going and how we're going to bring those technology changes that are happening in the industry to our customers in managed packages and other ways that our customers are going to be able to hopefully put them to work within their business to have a big impact. 2020 has really challenged us in that way, and technology is more important than ever. And we're here to help bridge that gap and do things like this, educate and talk about what the right place for our customers are.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. A great way for us to lead into the discussion is, that organizations are considering technology and looking at what areas should be invested in as it relates to technology. We've talked a lot over the last 90 days about security. And I think everybody has heard, and hopefully everybody's starting to understand how important security is. And it is a cost, but it's truly an investment to reduce risk and to make sure that the organizations are sustainable and can get through issues that are very prevalent with the bad actors. But probably the other significant thing that we're hearing a lot from our clients and that we're hearing about and reading about is just different ways of deploying that technology, and specifically the cloud. So what are some of the things that you're engaged in when you're working with our VCIOs or directly with our clients as it relates to this topic? And what are some of the key things that people are asking about and thinking about?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things just to hit on is, and again, we're in a coffee break, so we're not going to PowerPoint everybody to death, but just to talk, when we say cloud, what do we mean? And we mean something like these acronyms. IT loves acronyms. It makes us feel good and sound smart. So let's break what these are down a little bit. SaaS, software as a service. IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, and PaaS, which is platform as a service. So software as a service is your Office 365 experience. It is the ability to run software like Outlook in the cloud or in a web interface and running off a cloud infrastructure. You don't worry about anything going on in the background of that, right? Where even Microsoft does not directly disclose what data center facilities have the GUI that make up what delivers your Outlook Online experience or your Word Online or your Teams Online experience to you. So it's just delivered to you as a tool, kind of as is. It will self-update. You'll get new features. More features will come down the pike, and as you log in, you just get to experience that software as experience world. Platform as a service is more like, say, a Microsoft Dynamics or a Salesforce. Not only is it a tool that you just log into, you don't worry about what goes on underneath the hood, but you can also develop and extend that application. So you can go and develop in Microsoft Dynamics your own custom application that processes business workflows and sales orders, CRM entries, and things like that. So you can build applications in that, whether it be Dynamics or Salesforce or Force.com. So it gives you a platform. So you don't have to worry about the servers or the internet or the data centers underneath it, but you are responsible maybe for your own security around the code. So unlike software as a service, where all that stuff is locked, you don't have control over it, and therefore hopefully not responsibility. And you've shifted that uptime and security responsibility predominantly to the provider. And the platform as a service, if you're starting to develop in it, you're starting to shift some of that risk back to yourselves or to your managed service provider that can provide and fill those gaps for you. Then you have IaaS, or infrastructure as a service, and that's more like taking your servers on site and moving those into something like Microsoft Azure and running the same thing that you have at your office, taking that Windows server, and the phrase that we use in the industry is called lift and shift. We lift that right up and shift it and drop it onto the cloud. And so these are the discussions we're having. You as a business owner or a business leader, probably you can see the advantages of being as much platform or software as a service, because then you're not managing updates, you're not managing, maybe you're managing less of security. I have to say, I can't say not managing security, because while the physical data center is that provider's problem, you may, if you have bad logins or you're not using two-factor or a whole bunch of other things, if you let someone into your software as a service account, you have a big security problem. So it seems like sometimes when we talk about cloud, people get very focused on just, can I run my server in the cloud? And actually it's about this phrase, digital transformation, and how we get you into the right pieces and parts of cloud that are appropriate for your business. So I think your original question, Jeff, was what do we see as we talk to customers? And so to tie that back, what we see is customers coming to us saying, I don't want to have servers anymore, get me to the cloud. And that, while it's a great idea and a great concept, we're going to break that down and have a business discussion about what taking you to the cloud means, and what of your applications can be re-platformed, is the phrase, into software as a service or platform as a service, and what needs to remain infrastructure, and then where is really the right place for that infrastructure to be from a cost and security standpoint and performance, because just taking what you do today and just putting it in the cloud is not as magical as it sounds sometimes.
Yeah, so that's a lot of background and good content there to kind of put things in perspective. I think we talk a lot about the Microsoft platform, and I think Azure has made, or Microsoft's investment in the Azure platform has been pretty remarkable, and we're starting to see that, if I can use this word, proliferate into the business world in a more of a day-to-day and ongoing basis. So, what are some of those possibilities? Where are the applications that you're seeing it work well?
Yeah, so we do. We are one of Microsoft's fastest Azure growth partners in the entire Midwest. And that's not because necessarily we are amazing, although I think we are. It's largely in part because there is a demand. there is a groundswell for customers asking to be more cloud-like and to have less things running in their data center. And so where we've seen that go well is, if you're a small business and you want to be able to work from anywhere, and you have a limited set of applications, so you don't have 15 different applications you need to run for your employees to be effective, and with a lot of complexity to them. Maybe you run predominantly, if you say to yourself, I primarily work in Office 365, Word, Outlook, Excel, and one other or two other main business applications, and I really want to be able to do that job from anywhere in the world, and I see the value in maybe even paying a little bit more and having a little bit more of a maybe I have to log into a virtual desktop or a remote desktop to get to those applications, but that's of value to me because I want to be able to work from anywhere, and I know I will always have internet in order to do that. If that's a description of your small business, we've had a lot of success building a small virtual cloud environment to support your business to enable your workforce to do that from anywhere. We have a long customer of ours called Seiko Foods in Middleton, and they made this cloud journey very early on. Very forward-thinking leadership in that organization that said, even though we're a manufacturer and co-packer, our team is diverse. Our team is spread across even the United States because they need to have seller and broker relationships across the U.S. To bring their food products to market with big companies like Walmart, Kroger. And so they wanted to be cloud first, and they were willing to say, even if I have to take an extra step when I log in, I want to be able to work from anywhere. And so that's been their platform of choice for their business. And as they've acquired companies and grown and had COVID happen, they were always able to work from anywhere, and their team could continue to grow. They could continue to acquire businesses because their solution set was very Microsoft centric, very around Office 365, and then one other main ERP application. That's kind of the formula for a really successful cloud customer, SMB customer.
Yeah, and I think that's a great use case. You and I have talked about kind of the office of the future, or even if we said it differently, if you and I went out and started a business tomorrow, which we're not doing, but if we went out and started a business tomorrow and needed to set up an office, and I'm using air quotes, what would that look like? Would it include a physical server and all of the infrastructure that we're typically used to? And I think the answer would be no, that we would start with a subscription type of a program where you use what you need and you plan to grow. And so much of where you end up is dependent upon where you start. And most people who are on this call started with physical infrastructure and made decisions based on the ability to have things local. And so sometimes that transition is more complicated than you think it should be because of where you started. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward with, what that would look like if somebody is going to make a change. You were talking earlier about these, this acronym SOUP, SaaS and IaaS and Platform as a Service. What is it about Azure that makes, what is it that Microsoft has done to make Azure a good platform to support the various different types of as a service models that you mentioned before?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's people's inherent comfort level. If you're on this call, you are probably a Microsoft customer. You may not be the happiest Microsoft customer. Maybe you feel like some of their products are a little pricey, but we all are, right? This is launched from a Microsoft Windows 10 machine. We are running Microsoft PowerPoint today. These are the applications that businesses predominantly run on, and so they are a business first company. They are predominantly in the business of, not in the business of books, not in the business of online retail. They are in the business of helping businesses achieve more. That is literally their mission statement. And so that comes through in their solution offering. If you're already in Office 365, then you have a Microsoft Azure identity. Azure is just the name for all of their cloud goo. Office 365 really runs on Azure. It's the term for that platform. And Azure is really this amalgamation of hundreds of different solution offerings that they have. You can rent a Cognos database off Azure. You can run SAP HANA on Azure. You can run Linux on Azure. You can just get a database from Azure. You can just store files on Azure. You can sync files to Azure. You can just do your DNS with Azure. You can, Azure is this term for all this goo, which is really data centers full of RAM and compute, and then this platform of code that you can work on. But Microsoft did that all in the context of how do we support businesses very specifically, and how do we do that while maintaining security? So unlike other cloud players in the market, like a Google, who started their life in consumer and gathering data about you and your preferences to serve you better ads, and then they get into the data center game because they already had to have a huge data center footprint in order to support all of Google's infrastructure, or Amazon, who started installing books and online retail and needed a big data center footprint to support the growth of that business, and said, hey, why don't we get into that? Microsoft has always been in support of businesses and their technology, and this was a specific strategy and investment. And they knew along the way they needed to have every security checkbox checked more than anybody else. So they were first to GDPR certification. They have all of the SSA 16 and SOC certifications, HIPAA, PCI, FISMA, FedRAMP, every one of those. And if you're a customer, the login you use to get to your email, you can go to compliance, Microsoft's compliance portal, and download every single one of those compliance checkbox reports today. And so it happens every week, but it had to happen yesterday, where a customer came to me and said, oh, we got to prove that we've got SOC 2 from each of our vendors. Where do we even start with Microsoft? I said, it's super simple. Here's the link to the website. Just download the SOC 2 report and send it proving your compliance. Done. Because you already did the click wrap agreement. You have to have a login. It's not just out in the public, but any Office 365 login will allow you to download all of their compliance reports. And so that's the piece. Microsoft is built for businesses. It is very secure. They employ more security staff than any other company in the United States, and they are focused on making sure that this platform is ultra secure. And then they prove that in all of their compliance and audit reports. And all that value, when you get a little upset that Office 365 is $20 a user a month, all of that value, all that security, all that compliance is inside of that investment that you're making. And it provides huge value back to your business because PCI requirements are going up. GDPR is out. Something like GDPR will come to the United States here soon. There will be more compliance requirements on your business. And if you have Office 365 or you've made the move to the cloud, instead of those being huge expenses, you are often able to say, nope, that box is already checked. And Microsoft is really the only one that has put the time and investment into that for our business partners.
A lot of great content there. Thank you. You touched on kind of that, if you feel like $20 a month for your Microsoft 365 license is expensive, there's a lot behind it, and there's a lot of value to that $20 that you don't necessarily see. So it's good to hear all of that. But I think one of the challenges that many have come across, especially on the small to medium business side, is that this concept of moving to the cloud from an infrastructure perspective, either as a service or the platform as a service, is expensive. So what do you see from a cost benefit perspective of that move? Yeah.
Well, let me just put it out there. The cloud is more expensive than doing what you do on premise today. It's more expensive. That's the word. Does it provide more value? Yes. But is the amount of dollars you will write for cloud probably more, unless if you can get your entire business into software as a service and platform as a service, where you just pay, $20 for your Office 365 and another $35 for your Dynamics 365, and you can run your whole business from those two products. Then we could get in the realm of, air quotes, less expensive, but that's not most businesses. You will most likely have a couple line of business applications that are very unique to your world that still need to talk to a manufacturing device on site or an accounting package that is still running in an accounting department. You're going to have some anchors that are going to be a part of this cost analysis. But the cloud is more. It is more because you are outsourcing the internet, you are outsourcing power It takes a lot of dollars and power to run in a data center facility. It's actually the '1 expense in a data center is power consumption. So that's why they build these data centers in very creative ways these days. Microsoft, 2 years ago, sank a data center to the bottom of the ocean. They just pulled it out at the end of 2020 to take a look at how an underwater data center did, because they could use the cooling of the ocean, because cooling consumes the most power, power consumes the most cost. That's how you drive down the cost of cloud, is dealing with the power consumption issue. So you are paying for all fractions of all of those little things when you were going to the cloud. But you can make it work. And Azure and Microsoft's done a great job of creating programs where if you commit to running a certain amount of cloud in Microsoft Azure, you're going to run virtual machines for sure, guaranteed for a 1 or 3 year period. If you buy their operating systems with software assurance, they will extend additional discounts and won't make you re-buy that operating system when you move it to the cloud a second time. And you can really find creative ways with the right partner who knows a lot about Azure. The right Microsoft partner can help you get a solution design that starts to look really competitive and really similar to maybe what some of the on-premise costs are. Now we got to deal with latency and performance based on your very specific applications, but we can start. The cloud has gotten, the economics of it have gotten really close. There are some use cases that it's just not good for yet, because it takes a lot of data, or you need to be very physically close so you have low latency to your application. But there are more and more use cases and more of our customers that can look at this as viable from a pricing standpoint to run their business.
And obviously we have the resources and the ability to help walk through that, talk through that, look at the different opportunities. So of course we've got to get a little bit of a sales pitch in there that we have the resource to help with this. If you're considering it, or there's something that has sparked a couple questions, or you want to have this as definitely part of your long-term technology roadmap and start to work through those issues, please let your VCIO, account manager, or us know, so we can get that added to a to-do list. A question came in that I think is a good one. We're talking about all of these possibilities of what it could be, or what things to consider. But let's say somebody's gotten through all of that. They've decided that the cloud or moving to Azure would work. What is the process of migrating information to the cloud? What would that migration process look like? Is that something that could be done by a small internal team? Is there super unique knowledge that is needed? Talk to us about what that migration would look like.
Yeah, so we start with, and I have the slide up for our assessment here today, because it starts with understanding the business case and what the application is, and whether we're moving it to a platform or we're moving it to infrastructure as a service. It is, the internet has gotten so fast and so available. It used to be that we would have to pack up drives and send them to a special depot that Microsoft would load the physical drives into the Azure cloud, which they still have a program for doing. But in general, we're able to use the wire or the internet. We also have a co-location facility options around the Madison area that we utilize when we need to get large amounts of data uploaded. But we can help in that migration and planning out where it goes. It is something that a small IT team could try at. I think they certainly give you the tools within Microsoft's platform, but I think, like anything, our value as consultants is it wouldn't be our first migration to Azure. You would be our 100th. And so we've seen the pitfalls. We kind of know what to expect. We can make recommendations for how to optimize it for what you should move exactly like it is now, and what we should take the time to rebuild. Particularly when you talk about things like databases. Most businesses on average have 1 to 2 Microsoft SQL databases in them. And whether you should just move SQL as it is, or whether it could be ready to go to the platform as a service that is called SQL as a service on Microsoft Azure, that's where a consultant can help, so that you don't just take stuff and move it, but you actually choose the right home and the right economics and manage through all that. We're part of what's called Microsoft's Azure DCO, or Data Center Optimization Program. And so we have unique access directly to local resources. Our DCO rep is out of the Midwest. He's in Illinois. It's not Wisconsin, but we can't be perfect. But our DCO team is out of Illinois that we can work with, talk about your specific scenario, and help make that plan for that migration for your business around your unique technologies. And I think if I'm one of the people on this call, to know that I'm working with an organization that's not only done it before, but it's going to do it before and run my migration plan by the company that is going to it's going to land on in Microsoft, I think that would give you confidence that it's a migration that's going to go well.
So a lot of planning and working with the right resources is definitely a key. And we have those things to help with. Kind of as we wrap up, we've been talking about all of the possibilities and the good things, but what about on the flip side? What are some potential downsides that exist that, when people are doing the old Ben Franklin with the pros on one side and the cons on the other, we got to make sure that we're looking at some of the things that may not be ideal or may not go well. What are some of those things that you've seen?
Yeah, I see. It's important to have expectations set correctly when it comes to cloud. First of all, it is oftentimes a utility or consumption model, which means the more you utilize it, the larger your invoice will be. So it is possible that you will grow your utilization more than where you wanted your pocketbook to grow, which is a unique model to just buying servers, putting them in your building. They don't start calling you and charging you more the next month because they got worked a little bit harder. You have that very flat model. And so that matters. And whether you're a business that likes to take in CapEx expenses versus operational expenses, like the cloud can be, there's different financial advantages and disadvantages to that cloud model of buying. And those are things that should be discussed. We're often talking with the finance department and IT when it comes to larger cloud migrations. And like I said, there are some workloads that if you have two systems that need to talk to each other and then to a piece of your equipment, or there are some document management systems that just don't do well stretched across VPNs. If data needs to be next to each other, the cloud is not close. There is a speed of light challenge to this. I had a customer just this week come to me and be like, I think we could get really cheap satellite internet. And I said, yes, you probably could. Well, the download speeds are great. I said, yes, yep, they can be. The problem is satellite is in space. And so the way the speed of light works is every time you need to send a bit of data, it will need to go up to space and then come back down. And that creates this thing called latency. So you can have a really high performing connection to the cloud. But if your latency, which is the time it takes for your one bit of data to get there and back, your employees will feel a very slow experience to, even to the degree where it doesn't work. So we have to balance all of those things, and the cloud isn't directly in your facility, which is why most of our customers are adopting, hybrid cloud approach. Many of you on the call are. You are consuming Office 365, and it's interacting maybe with OneDrive or SharePoint with your devices on premise. That's a hybrid cloud approach, which is perfectly normal. Maybe if you need to run an intense system all the time, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, it makes more sense to still buy that server, run it, know what that cost is going to be without any variability to it. But maybe your business fluctuates. It gets really busy in the summer and really slow in the winter. You want to be able to expand to meet demand and then contract it. That same server that I said won't charge you more next month, you also can't go to that server room and say, I don't want that hard drive. Let's take that hard drive out and give it back. We didn't really use it this month. So that's the opposite side of that utility consumption model, is you can reduce your costs by choosing to decrease performance or have less availability. And Microsoft Azure is starting to get to the point where it can analyze what you need and when you need it and charge you less when you're off hours and more when you're on hours. And it's starting to really hone in that utility model. So I would say some of the downsides can be price. That utility model cuts both ways. And certainly sometimes performance, latency. If the thing you need needs to be close to you, cloud still has that challenge because Microsoft doesn't have a cloud in Madison or directly in every single market that we might be talking to today.
All right. Well, a lot to think through, a lot to consider. We've kind of reached the end of our time, so I want to thank everyone for attending. Quick reminder that we're going to be talking about cloud for the month of January, so you may have registered for all the January events in kind of one fell swoop, which is great. Here's a list of those. If you just registered for this session and one of these others would be valuable for you, but maybe not all, you can definitely do that individually by going to our events page at gflush.com/events. If you are interested in furthering the discussion, that assessment at alevityit.com/assessments is available. And I think I covered it, Paul. So thanks everybody for attending. Have a great Friday, great weekend. Welcome to 2021. Let us know what we can help with, and we will be talking more about the cloud as January continues.
Thanks, Jeff. Have a great day, everybody.